On this episode, how about the nostalgia of being 50 episodes deep, plus the worst deal I have ever done. Hint, it was not my fault. This real estate stuff is not easy, so send me your questions and I will answer them. This is the Ask Jason Show. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jason Piercey, and this is episode 50 ta-da, of the Ask Jason Show. 50 freaking episodes. The lovely and talented director Joe pointed out to me that there's a lot of high production television shows that don't make it that far. Which is not even relevant because nobody could watch this and we would still make it. So that's not really the same thing, Joe. But anyway, we're very happy and very proud and very grateful to still have some of your attention after 50 episodes. So what I would like to do, because I do have a question, but before I answer that, what I would like to do is sort of give a synopsis of how this whole thing happened and how it turned into some other stuff. My foray into video actually started years ago when I did sales and marketing management for Skymark Homes. I did this short little series with them to try and get some traction on Facebook. I did it on my cell phone. It was called Did You Know? And some people might sort of remember it or because it was pretty popular. I did it every day for like 30 days or something. And it would just be these quick little bits where I would tell a little story about a thing and then relate it to the builder I was working with at the time, Skymark, the now defunct Skymark Homes. As an example, the very first one, I think, or maybe the second one, the camera was up pretty close on me, so I was kind of like this, and I was talking to the lens, and it was sort of like, Skymark Homes, Did You Know? Episode 1. Every Skymark home has a good-sized bathtub that a full-size man can fit in. And then I would zoom out, and I was in a bathtub. And then it would just be, Skymark Homes, big bathtubs, did you know? And I did that every day for 30 days. And as I started to do it, I sort of started to realize that I had a knack for this video thing and people were watching them. And people would talk about it and I'd show up to like different events with realtors and they'd ask me about it and it would become a thing. And I thought, well, here I am doing this, building somebody else's brand. What if I did it for myself? So I started keeping it more real than real estate. Which eventually, when I realized that that was a stupid name, became the Ask Jason Show. And what's interesting about that, and I don't know if anybody knows this, Joe, I'm looking at you. I don't know if anybody knows this. The advice to name it the Ask Jason Show came from Mr. Martin Byrne of Royal LePage Vision Realty. True story. And it happened during the episode that we filmed together talking about multiple offers, because we'd just done a deal together. We talked about it in that episode. First ever guest star also. So huge shout out to Mr. Martin Byrne. Then the Ask Jason Show happened. Did like 10 episodes by myself, like on cell phone, on laptop, wherever it was. And then moved my real estate license, left Skymark and the home team and a wonderful people. It just didn't fit what I wanted with my business anymore. I went to Keller Williams, met director Joe, who was just Joe at that point in time. I was taking photos of listings that I had, and he was just like, yeah, I do video. And I was like, I have this video thing. And we just sort of banged one out really quick that was terrible, and nobody will ever see. That was that episode 10? Yeah, okay, so episode 10 is still in the vault. I don't even know if we know where it is. Do you know where it is? Yeah, we'll find it. We'll find it and we'll air it. And then redid it, went to episode 11, and that got kind of interesting. And shortly after episode 11, Jonathan Crow of CBC Here and Now fame at the time. Now he's an instructor, communications, media, something like that, with College of North Atlantic. He contacted me and wanted to do a couple of pieces related to the real estate industry. So did a couple of things for CBC. That just sort of spun into another thing, that spun into another thing, and another thing. Next thing you know, Joe and I have a media company. We make videos, and we have a television show on Rogers Without a Fog. And now we're making another television show for somebody else for Rogers. But I'm not going to tell you who it is because I don't know if I'm allowed yet. And I'm learning lessons along the way because I've always been very much a forgiveness, not permission kind of person. So right now, I'm actually not intentionally doing the thing I'm probably not allowed to do. And in the past, I would have done that. So we are all learning. So that's sort of the evolution of the Ask Jason Show, and now we're at number 50. But it is, however, the Ask Jason Show, so I think I should answer a question. And this is sort of a question that I've been trying not to answer. Not because I'm afraid to answer it, but because it doesn't necessarily provide a lot of value to the audience. But the question is, what's the worst deal you ever did? The hardest, worst real estate transaction that I have ever done. And this is a true story, even though it seems like it could be made up. It is definitely true. It was very early in my real estate career. I was maybe a year and a half, 2 years deep or something like that. I was working for Mr. Nevin Hollett at the time, another one of my favorite guys to do deals with. So I had a listing out in Paradise, and a young couple came to an open house and they loved it. And I started to talk to them. We do the qualifying process the way that you normally would, find out about the financing, have they been in the bank, you know, a couple of different things. And they said, well, actually, it'll be a cash purchase because her mother's new husband, so like her stepdad, had recently passed away and had left them with a significant chunk of money, and they were going to buy a house for cash as an investment, keep it long term. This was a time in our market where people were still buying things and selling them in 2 years and making $50,000. Like, so they were, like Joe was chuckling, that happened. Like, you go back 8, 9 years, that was happening on the regular. But it's not sustainable. So that doesn't mean it's a bad market now. It means it's sensible now. Anyway, I digress. I never digress. I don't even really know what it means. They're in and they're looking at a place, they fall in love with it, they tell me this is where the money is coming from. So we put an agreement of purchase and sale together, and to close on whatever day, say it was like 6 weeks in the future, which, you know, is fairly typical closing time. She's a teacher, so she provides like a letter from the school board. He works with like a civilian with the military doing IT stuff or something like that. So he provides his proof of employment just for identification purposes because it's cash. And then she provides like a letter from the lawyer who is representing like, I guess like the what is the word I'm looking for? Like the estate. There's a word, the executor of the estate, yeah. Can we edit that out? I'm smarter than this. I'm only on 1 cup of coffee so far today. It's morning. So anyway, she provides a letter on letterhead and stuff from the lawyer. So we're all ready to go. It comes up to like 2 days before closing, and I get a call like 11:30 at night, and it's the dude. We will call him Derek. I don't know why I thought, I don't even know a Derek. Do I know a Derek? I don't even know a Derek. I went to high school with a Derek. He was a good guy. Pretty good volleyball player, which is weird because he wasn't very tall. Looks a little bit like Ludacris. I hope we can find a picture of Derek. So anyway, let's call him John. So John calls me, it's like 11:30 at night. He's, man, what would happen if we needed to get out of this contract? And I was like, because I'm like 2 days away from getting paid. And I'm like, what is happening? So anyway, I'm like, well, let's step back here. What do you mean? Because the answer to that question is like either nothing happens because they let you go or they sue you. That's, you know, and they can either sue you to force you to close on the property or they can sue you for the damages and the difference between what you were going to buy versus what you were going to pay versus what they actually ended up selling for in the future. But anyway, so I go through that with him and he says, well, I just found something out. And his girlfriend, we'll call her Jane. As it turns out, she's not a teacher. And he's been dropping her off at school for like 9 months every morning and picking her up every evening, 5 days a week for like 9 months. But she's not a teacher. She doesn't work at the school. She doesn't even go there. Her mother's husband didn't die. She was never ever married, ever. The girl is actually out of the care of her doctor, and she is an honest to goodness, real life, kind of like you would see in the movies, pathological liar. All of the documents, this is a true story, all of the documents that she had sent proving where she worked, proving that the money was coming to her from the executor of the estate, from the law, all of that, all forged perfectly. None of it true. And he knew none of this. And he had been with her for like a year and a half. Knew none of it. So John and Jane obviously have some stuff to sort out. I call the seller and I'm like, and he's a retired high up military guy. So like, I was always scared to death of him, constantly afraid of the guy, all of the time. So I tell him, and I'm like, I don't even know how to tell you. I don't even know where to go with this. That is a true story. The worst deal that I have ever done never actually happened. House sold, they bought another one. It was, all of that worked out fine. The relationship with that client gave me really good homemade wine in a basket on closing. Really good homemade wine. I wonder if I can get in touch with her again. And that is it for episode 50. All of the love from all of the deepest, gushiest, warmest places. That got a little bit Bill Cosby-ish. With the general pudding slacks. Thank you very much. We love you dearly. We are incredibly grateful. And here's looking forward to at least another couple episodes. We will see you next time. The Ask Jason Show exists so that you can get good real estate related information from a resource that you can trust. Now, speaking of resources you can trust, here's a couple I would trust to work with my mom. Because good enough for mom, I mean, good enough for you.
It's the Ask Jason Show. It's the Ask Jason Show.